welcome to Navigating Grief with the Sisterhood. My name is Irosha.
Hi, I'm Constance. Welcome back.
And I'm Sakia. Good to see y'all again.
And I'm Cassandra. Happy that you're all tuned in.
It's always a blessing to see you ladies.
Yes.
Today, I want to talk about the Kubler-Ross Model, which is one of the most well-known frameworks for understanding grief, developed by psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. It outlines 5 emotional stages that many people experience when going through loss or major life changes. It's not a strict checklist, or not everyone goes through all these stages or in the same order, but it can help us make sense of the grieving process. The 5 stages was introduced by psychiatrist Ross in her 1969 book on death and dying. It outlines a series of emotional stages experienced by individuals facing terminal illness, loss, or grief. But over time, this model has been widely used to understand how people cope with loss and major life changes, like the death of a loved one, divorce, job loss, or serious illness. The Kubler-Ross model is still meaningful today because it validates emotions that come with loss, offers a language to talk about grief, helps people feel less alone, and it guides healing in a confusing time. Some important notes to remember about it: it's nonlinear. People don't always go through these stages in order or experience all of them. Not just for death. The model can apply to significant loss, like a major job loss, major life changes, divorce. But tonight, we all have been using the Kubler-Ross model, the 5 stages of grief, as a way to better understand what we're going through. It doesn't fix the pain, but it gives us framework to make sense of the emotions that come and go. The stages denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance aren't checklists, and they don't happen in order. But knowing these reactions are normal help us ladies feel less overwhelmed. When I'm really angry or just feel numb, I can remind myself this is part of the process, and it's okay to feel this way right now. It also helped me recognize how my feelings can shift over time. Sometimes I move back into anger or denial even after moments of acceptance, and that's okay. The model reminds me that grief isn't about getting over it, but learning to live with it. Tonight, we're going to share some insights on all stages.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you, Irosha.
Good. Yes.
So Irosha has given us a great overview just on Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And I love that we're trying to make sense of the various emotions that people may feel after loss. Her work that she did was so revolutionary because prior to then, nobody had like a framework, like just what's going on with people. So now we have a better understanding. And even since her time, so many other psychologists have come out and gave their reports and their renditions on understanding grief. But when Irosha was speaking in her overview, the different associations, the different emotions associated with grief, I noticed that she interchanged the word emotion and feelings. So quick poll to the sisterhood. Are they the same? And if not, how are they different?
I definitely think they have similarities.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely similarities, but they are different.
Have you all heard them interchange often? I mean, is that common? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other feedback? I think this shows that why that's such an important question, because you hear people say I feel or my emotions, and I think it's helpful to be able to differentiate between the two. So this is how I look at it. I view emotions as raw data. Emotions describe unconscious responses to external stimuli or situations. So, for instance, emotion is the first thing you feel when you hear something. It's your first gut reaction. That's your emotion.
Okay.
So, if we're talking about emotions associated with grief and loss, what you feel when someone says that someone's gone. A lot of times, the gut reaction may be a drop in the stomach, right? It may be a physical sensation of some people actually just kind of like black out. They can't even conceptualize what's being told to them, right?
Right.
It doesn't become a feeling until you put meaning to it. So feelings are the extrapolated data. It's the processed data. It's the analyzed data. Feelings further describe emotions and often include individual interpretations and experiences. Feelings give context and meaning to emotions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. Emotions are like the surface level. What are,
Mhm.
our, like you said, our immediate response or reaction to something.
And it's so
When we
important to
process
be.
it.
Keep
When
going,
we
Constance.
when we begin to process it, then that's when we can
Feelings.
identify the feeling.
Yeah.
You can identify the feeling. And it's so important that we know this, you guys. We have a wheel, which we will show at our next session, that kind of shows you like our core emotions and the feelings that can come from it. If you ask people usually, how you feeling, you may hear some of the same thing. I feel angry, I feel sad, but is it really you irritated? Is it that you're frustrated? Is it that you're confused? Is it that you're irritable? Those are actually the different words to describe feelings. So, quick tidbit of info. Researchers identify that there are six universal emotions. Anybody want to take a stab at it? And it's not a test because we're learning together.
Happy, sad,
Okay.
Sad.
Y'all 2
angry.
for 2. Oh, 3 for
Oh,
3.
mad, angry, mad, happy.
Okay.
How about envious?
No.
No. Envy?
Happy, sad, angry, and then three others.
Um,
Worried, scared.
Fear.
Here, okay.
Okay. Angry, sad, happy, fear. You all, I'm gonna have navigating grief with the Sisterhood to watch Inside Out.
Oh, that's a good
Oh,
movie.
I did watch that.
So the other ones are angry, sad, happy, fear, disgust, and surprise.
Surprise.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And think about surprise, because what comes from surprise? Shock. That's the only one I can think of right now. But that's a core emotion, and once you put meaning to it, it becomes a feeling, or you're able to identify the feeling. And from these 6 emotions, we can experience any number of feelings. You all, this could go on all day long, and it's really a fun activity because it helps us be able to identify, like, what are we really feeling in a specific moment or time. I hear people all the time say, I'm just mad. But really, like I said, mad often goes a lot deeper than just being mad.
Pulling back those layers.
Yeah, because if you think
Getting to
about
them.
being mad about some constant, sometimes it's not really you mad, you feel betrayed.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we do have to take that time, like you said, to kind of really sort through. I know, and just, walking through the loss of my husband, I had to you have to process. And I think that's the beautiful thing too about having the language of, the stages, because it helps you to identify language to put it to what you're experiencing. And so for me, it was, really affirming to be able to do that as I process different things with the loss of my husband, what I was feeling and what I was dealing with, and then going to counseling, counseling helping to give me language, for what I was experiencing. And so I can kind of use that as, a point of reference and a support to help me process through it. So
I think as a people overall, we do better now putting names to feelings. I think about as when we were younger kids, if we were upset, people say, don't be mad, but they may not necessarily ask you why you're mad. They may not necessarily ask what's the problem. But now we have slang words like hangry, I'm mad because I'm hungry, and so I do think you can still look at our different emotions and feelings and be able to determine exactly what's going on. So now let's just talk about denial, because this is the first step. Psychologists view denial as a defense mechanism where individuals unconsciously refuse to recognize or acknowledge reality, especially when it is painful or threatening.
Yeah.
Anybody familiar?
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 As with any defense mechanism, the job of denial is to protect one from being overcome by an intense emotion. But it's unconscious, because there are some who consciously deny the truth because of the implications on the future. And then others may not recognize what's going on. Remember, grief is not only experienced during death. Sometimes people grieve the end of a relationship, employment, or experience. There are other reasons people may experience denial. I've heard of people discovering they have had a terminal illness. This information has been found to be true by various medical examinations and research and tests. They may still refuse to believe that it's true. Classic denial. And therefore, they may go from doctor to doctor attempting to find a different diagnosis, or they may just ignore it altogether.
Mhm.
Someone's significant other may break up with them. Instead of accepting the end of the relationship, one may imagine that the separation is just for a short period of time and eventually they will reunite. Y'all, that's how that stalking stuff comes out. I mean, let's just be real.
Yeah.
Or I've even known the person to get laid off from their job due to a series of egregious misbehaviors, such as constant tardiness, misbehaviors, inappropriate workplace connections. And in this situation, this is a true life. Everyone knew why this person had lost their job, except the person that lost the job. Because they did not want to admit that they consistently messed up.
Mhm.
The person finally accepted their dismissal, but denied it was due to their actions. It went so far that it did become a workplace complaint. Needless to say, the complaint did not end in their favor. These are all examples of denial due to a loss, but denial due to grief may look a little bit different. So before we go even a little bit further, does anybody want to talk about their experience if it included denial?
I can say a little bit about the denial, as far as my husband, it took them about 5 weeks before they came up with a diagnosis of why he was behaving the way that he was. And when they said that it was Lewy body dementia, of course, number one, I'd never heard of it. Um, until they said, well, it falls under the Alzheimer's umbrella. And I said, okay, but so what does that mean? How do you know it's not depression? How do you know it's not this? How do you know it's not that? And when I was speaking with other nurses and I said, well, they diagnosed him with Lewy body dementia, it was always the same reaction. Oh my goodness. Like it was like the worst thing. And so I didn't believe it for a while. I even went to support groups and they were, everybody in the group was already experiencing that process of dealing with a loved one with dementia or Alzheimer's. And, I'm listening to some of their stories and I'm like, nope, he's not like that. Nope, he's not like that. He's not like that. And I was in denial for a while. And I don't even know how I came out of the denial, except that I finally had to come to grips with, okay, this is what the doctors say, and this is what the neurologist is saying. I think it's time to take the next step. So it's a hard form of acceptance, to go from denial to acceptance. But once you get past that denial, it's at that point when you come up with a plan and you have to sort of follow through and try to stick to that plan. So it was a hard battle. And I think some of it came because I am a nurse and it was just hard. It was just really a difficult acceptance.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I experienced some of that too, that denial. And I think for me, it was a mental thing that I wanted to hold space, to not deal with it totally.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mhm.
after my husband passed, it was just like, I didn't want to let him go. I didn't want to let him go.
Yeah.
And so mentally, I held space, I didn't want to deal with, even though I knew and on one hand, I knew he was gone. But on another hand, it was like I didn't want to let him go,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that felt like a place of comfort for a while. It's like, no, I'm not, he's gone, but I'm not letting him go, and that it kind of I don't know, it gave me a sense of comfort or something, to just kind of withhold that peace in my mind that he was gone.
Mhm.
And I also think, Constance, it may be a sense of comfort and protection,
Yeah.
but instead of feeling those intense emotions so quickly. You said mental space for him, but even think about how some people are in denial by holding physical space. Like, I'm not going to give up the bedroom. I'm not going to change anything in the house. I'm going to
Mhm.
keep it exactly the
Mhm,
same.
mhm.
That also can be a form of denial, not willing to accept that life has changed. Now, we can all say it's a process. We get that.
Yeah.
But for some, they're not ready to go there.
Yeah.
So
And
the
everybody
state,
has a timetable. Yeah, I think, yeah.
go ahead.
Everybody has I guess their own
Their own
timetable,
timetable, exactly. And I
you
think
know.
Arosha said in the beginning, she found herself going through all the various emotions, and even today, she might be, she has reached acceptance, but there might be a time when she revisits anger.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
although the stages of grief no longer fall into a certain order, we all can say that denial is usually the first step. It's the first response and consequently the first stage we enter. I cannot count how many times I've heard someone, upon being informed of a loss, or let me just say this, I've read on Facebook and social media, no, are you for real? I just talked to them. You got to be lying. This can't be true. Um, we have to remember that that is a normal reaction or response to an abnormal situation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think one of my when I was going through counseling, my one of my counselors, she really gave me a understanding about, because she was saying how our body, how God designed us, really, that shock mechanism, it kind of like bridges, that the totality of that pain from hitting us. That shock allows us to, like shock absorb. It allows us to absorb, or kind of that interim space, so you won't feel that total impact. And so I love when she shared that with me, because it just let me see how God created us, to in a protective, shock is kind of like a
Protection. Mm-hmm.
protective mode, to help us, you know um incubate us, really, to, so we can, and, until we can stand the fullness of that pain,
Mm-hmm.
and so temporarily. And so I know for me too, even just getting through the funeral planning, I think that shock, it
Mm-hmm.
enabled me to kind of, bear it, because it's just like you had to kind of go on autopilot, because you got to do
Mm-hmm.
the funeral service and do all
Yeah.
the planning, and
Mhm.
and so that shock and denial stage helps you to navigate that a little bit, a
Mhm.
little bit easier, or, it holds it off until you can, you know, deal with it.
Yeah. And I love too, Constance, how you shared about how your therapist said that it could be like, God's protection. I couldn't do nothing but smile and just go, oh, he loves us. Because
Mm-hmm.
even in the midst of this, he still gives us that type of protection. Now we have a name for it. We call it, denial. It's like our hazmat suit to get through a hard time. But nevertheless, he's given us that as a gift. Because you're right, all of those intense emotions, it would just throw us off our, we wouldn't know what to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yes.
You wouldn't know what to do. So I wanted to remind you all that we know that for every living person, that at some point, we will have to close our eyes. But we have to remember all the uncertainty surrounding it may be difficult for one to really understand and be able to move to the next step. So when denial occurs, it's normal to experience emptiness, numbness, refuse to discuss the event or any feelings or emotions evolving. Denial is an attempt to hide from a painstaking reality. We must also remember that being in denial is not necessarily a bad thing. We already talking about it. It may be a necessary step for us to prepare for the emotional distress that is to come. Denial is often helpful in breaking down the information in a way which people can easily process. So we want you all to know, if you have experienced denial, please do not feel guilty or as if you have a problem understanding the situation. We recognize it as a coping mechanism for protection. It can definitely help you deal with that thing that isn't supposed to be real when it's really real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like how you put that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be real.
So if you're not the person going through the denial stage, but you're one who wants to help assist them, here are some tips to help you out. This is one of my favorite internet memes. I told y'all last time, we listen and we don't judge. I encourage you to lend a compassionate ear and assist with the tangibles as needed. Since a person may be in denial, they may not be able or open to completing the necessary steps. I love how Constance just shared, getting through the funeral, calling family members, planning the services. So assist as they will allow you to. Lead with love and patience. Be supportive and be a safe place. Remember, denial is a phase. People do not typically stay in a denial phase forever. It can happen. I'll say that. If it does, you guys, at some point, it will be helpful to seek professional assistance from a mental health counselor or a therapist. Most importantly, though, if you're a person supporting them, just be present. They're going to need you when they transition to the next stage, because we will keep moving and going forward. We'll learn to navigate grief, but there are phases that we may go through, and the next stage is anger.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing all of that with us, Sakia, Constance, Hirosha. Anger is the second stage in the 5 stages of grief. And you may feel a sense of unfairness or injustice that can lead to anger. It can lead to frustration, irritability, and sometimes even rage. You question why the death or loss occurred. You just feel like, this is just so unfair. Why did this have to happen? I know in my case, feelings of anger came from the fact that my husband, Alfredo, was what I call the good son in his family. He helped everybody. And, sometimes your family members can disappoint you. Your friends can disappoint you. The medical personnel can disappoint you. And that disappointment leads to feelings of anger. You start to blame others for his death, or their death, or their loss. And I don't know if I could say that I was blaming others for his death. I just felt that perhaps it could have been delayed if the long-term care facility where he was living at that time provided better care. And then, I started thinking about it the other day as I'm going over all of this, and I'm thinking, you start to blame yourself. At least I did initially, because I had seen my husband on that Thursday, and we'd had such a wonderful visit. We laughed. He was eating his Girl Scout cookies and drinking some juice. And, we always said, I love you when I was heading back home. And then I got sick. So for 4 days I was sick. So the next time I heard from the facility, they were calling me to ask me, do you want us to send him to the hospital? He's not doing well. So then when I saw him, I barely recognized him. He didn't look like the person that I left on Thursday. So that caused me, I mean, immediately my blood pressure went up. I could feel that I was angry because I'm like, what the heck were they doing, or were they not doing? And so anyway, that was how I felt at that time, that had you not gotten sick, this was this little voice in my head, that voice that you don't want to listen to or you don't want to hear. Well, you were sick. What do you expect? You weren't there. You weren't watching out for them. And and then I started feeling like maybe I should have just gone in even though I was sick. You start second guessing yourself. So I then I thought, okay, I'm blaming myself, but it's not making sense. But at the time, that was it was I don't know if it was giving me a sense of control or what, but because I was trying to seek control in this type of situation. So I know I was feeling some type of um, abandonment with the fact that, okay, he's not doing well. Doctors say he only has so many days left. You're feeling disappointed, you're feeling angry, you're disappointed at the world, really.
Oh, yeah.
And so some of these behaviors are not what you would expect. Like you would not expect um, your family members to behave the way that they do. And that can cause you to be angry at the whole situation. So, have any of you felt that, like in these types of situations where you've lost a loved one, where your family members or friends can disappoint you? Have you seen that? Felt it? Has it
I
happened?
felt it. This happened to me. It happened when my mom died.
Mm-hmm.
Family members were not nice at all. And like you said, it made me angry. And for a
Mm-hmm.
period of time, I would just get up every morning and relive it and relive it. And it kept making me angry. And I had to figure out how to work through it
Mm-hmm.
and how not let it keep taking control of my life.
Yes.
And again, being angry at my mom, like you left me with these crazy people, I'm,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a process. Like I said, you one minute I'm good, and the next minute I go right back to it. But it's lesson now. It's not like every morning I'm getting up doing it. It's sporadic coming, like you said, that inner critic voice
Yeah.
loves to come up and be mean, like, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to this little therapy program, and I talk back to my critic voice now, and I'd be like, oh, shut up, whatever. That's what they
Yeah.
taught me to do. And
Yeah.
that inner critic voice. And I know that's a protection, that little inner critic person, but sometimes you can overpower, and it's a process. So yeah,
Yeah.
I know exactly how you feel, Cassandra, as you was telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get so angry that you feel helpless.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
feel so helpless, and sometimes you go into that feeling of feeling hopeless, and that's a place where you don't want to stay.
Yeah.
um but I it wasn't so much that I was feeling that way, but that's a feeling that can
Mm-hmm.
surface if you allow it to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know Sakia had mentioned about sadness being one of our emotions or feelings. um and the sadness comes from the fact that you're feeling overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
You just know that there's so much to be done. You don't know where to start, and that can also make you feel angry
Yeah.
because you have no control. You're losing that sense of control, and the one thing that you can the anger just sort of helps you. I don't even know how to explain that. Um, the anger is a way for you to control the other feelings that might surface.
Threaten
Yes,
to overtake you. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And
And I,
another way I think to describe it, Cass, is that during that time, another reason anger comes up is that everything is important. I mean, like it's so much to do, so much that's expected. But in reality, you feel like nothing is important because your life has changed.
Right.
Everybody's rushing. You have to do this. You have to do this. You need to do this. And it's just like you want to say, give me a beat. Give me a second because I'm still working through my denial. And now I'm getting angry because all of this is being pushed on me. And I didn't ask for this.
Right. You put that perfectly. You really did. So that brings out the irritability and then the bitterness.
Yes.
You get really bitter, you get impatient with everyone. You know how everything can get on your nerves.
Oh, yeah.
I
I didn't have a whole lot of grace for some people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially when you have to make those calls to the banks and
Yes.
different companies and,
Mm-hmm.
having to like repeat things. I'm just like, how many times I got to tell you my husband is dead? And it's just like,
Yes. Oh, I
it
know.
was just, yeah. So having to navigate that, I think I had a lot of I didn't have a lot of grace. Just, give me the information or tell me and quit passing me around to.
Because the first thing they want is the death certificate. Well, we need a copy of the death
Yes.
certificate. And you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's lots of anger, agitation, frustration, just impatience. Because you're impatient with them. They know your situation because you lost someone, but yet and still you feel like they're just pushing all this stuff at you, and it's just too much. Like I'm one person. I just can't do all. I just can't do it. But of course you do it.
You have
find
to,
that you
yeah.
can
You have
do
to,
it.
yeah.
But your initial thought is I can't do this. This is just too much. And you find a way. It is amazing. You find a way as you're going through these steps. We're talking about the denial and then the anger, and you think that okay, I've gone through the anger, and it's not necessarily true that you're going to go through every stage.
Yes.
I mean, they say you may go through at least two of them. I feel like I went through all of them, to tell you the truth, but.
And you revisit them.
You do revisit them.
They come back. Like I think I wrote you were saying, it's not linear.
It's not.
Right.
It just come.
It's not.
Random.
I had an experience about it today. Like I have to now face that I have to do probate on my mom, and I've been trying to avoid this for the longest. And like you said, talking to the people on the phone, the lady was just so awful. I wanted to just lash back at her, but I had to take a moment and breathe on the phone. And of course, I know my mom is gone, but I was like, I'm dealing with this again. I can't believe this is happening again. Like I got to open this wound back up again and work through my mom's probate stuff. So this was something I was just burying and didn't want to deal with. And now I have to deal with it because it's other things that are about to go on. So
impact, yeah.
And I'm glad you guys are spending time too talking about how anger manifests. Like it's at different times and different things. Like we talked about being angry with the people we have to talk to. What about, I mentioned this last time, being angry with God, being angry with the deceased themselves. Like if you were here, I wouldn't have to deal. I think I wrote you mentioned it. Mama, you left me with these crazy people. That's reality. And that's something else we want you all to know, that all of it is normal for the situation, because there is no, just like there's no guideline to being here outside of what we read in the Bible. There's no guideline. We got to figure this thing out. And it's the same way with grief.
Yes. Because it's personal. I mean, there's things that we all experience, but based on our personalities and just maybe how we process things. But yeah, I definitely remember being angry with God, being angry with myself, and being angry with my husband for leaving. You left me. You left and I wasn't ready, and so, and I also remember like feeling like there were certain moments where I wanted, it's just like I didn't have nowhere for that anger to go. It felt like, and it's just like I wanted to break, and I never did, but I said I just want to break something. I want to. It's like I wanted that release of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think later on, I had came across this. It was some like I don't know where I was at, but they had this little shop or this little place where you can go and actually break things. You know,
Yeah,
Break
it's
room.
like a
That's what that's
I've heard
cave.
of
called.
that.
Break
I
room.
Yes.
was like, oh, that would have been perfect. I don't want to break my dishes,
I
but
know,
I
I don't want to miss that good
break
stuff.
y'all.
I was thinking of something you said, Sakia, about how God loves us. And I remember I was in the emergency room initially when the doctor said that, my husband only had, I think he said 48 hours. And I was just like, I was a mess. I was a basket case. And this young pastor came in his room, and and two of my friends came in who were sitting out in the uh, the area,
Mm-hmm.
and he was praying. It was like the most beautiful prayer. And after he finished the prayer, he turned to me and he said, I knew your husband." And he started
Mm-hmm.
talking about him, how he knew him. And it was just like my level of just, because I was like a complete basket case, so to speak. And it sort of calmed me right down. And when you said that about God loves us, and he takes care of us, initially I wasn't thinking that way. I was like, oh my, how could God let this happen? And then he gave me a way to just not soften the blow, but just help me to be able to just get through the next few days before he passed. And so that was just like a beautiful moment. It was just like as Jen would say, a God wink, because
Okay, wait.
that's what
Yeah.
it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So I know we were talking earlier about all of these emotions, and the feelings of anger, impatience. We start being critical of everyone. What do we do? What are some of the things that we can do, or healthy ways to help us um, release a lot of these emotions that we're feeling? And for myself, I like journaling. I've done that. Um, I've been journaling for years. But I also tried writing poetry, um, doing yoga, meditation. And for me, quilting was the really the avenue, or my that form of that healthy outlet for me was quilting, that allowed me to express a lot of how I was feeling, and to get those feelings out and create something, make something positive out of those feelings. So, did any of you have different ways that you've used to process your emotions?
Yeah. Yeah, journaling, I think for me too, the journaling piece
Mm-hmm.
is very helpful, and talking to people, talking about it, um, being able to call up people that understand. I think that was one of the big things for me, is just finding people, finding community to I
Mm-hmm.
could talk to that understood what I was going through. And finding those listening ears. And so I think, that was helpful for me. And I've also, and I think I maybe shared this in another episode, that, I started a nonprofit organization to support other widows. And that's been really therapeutic for me, just being able to give back and support others who are traveling, the same road. So with those promises, yeah, it's been a blessing, for me, as well as, the people I've been able to impact.
Yes. Yes. Helping others for me also. I think I mentioned in another podcast that I was a hospice volunteer, and that was a way for me to it was a way to distract myself from all of what I was going through and be able to help someone else. And helping others, you also help yourself. Heal, you help yourself to heal. So that's
Yeah.
what I found.
Yeah. And I think we have to feel what we feel,
Yes.
I think feel the feels, as
Feel the
we
feels,
say.
I love it.
It's
You have to
important to
sit
go
with the
through.
feeling.
Let yourself feel, instead of stuffing it, or, I think we have to do better, I think, as a society, about allowing people to feel what they feel. It's okay to cry. It's okay to, to feel angry.
Yes.
So I would say angry, but don't sin it, don't sin not, but, but
You're
it's okay to
right.
be angry.
Yes.
I'm so glad you said that. I put on here, looking at my notes, anger does not have to be loud. Sometimes it can be quiet. Sometimes it can be a piercing response that's only noticed by small gestures and like fleeting visceral reactions. Like sometimes we don't even know what we're experiencing in that moment is anger until we realize that we felt a flinch or, a palpitation of the heart, like that kind of tugged at you. And once you get a chance to name it and figure it out, you realize I'm angry because. And so it's really important to note that there's no right or wrong way to be angry. I mean, when you were asking Cass, what can we do? It's not a right or wrong way, as long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting somebody else. What did you say? Be angry. Do not sin not, whatever the word says, right? Because it's most important that you get the feeling out,
Yes.
Yeah.
So one question I had, because I think this kind of leads us into our next session, because we know this is so much information. For those who are listening, we just want you to remember, if you're going through it, it's okay to feel every emotion, to acknowledge it, to sit with it. But we also want the others who support those to know it's important that you're patient. It's important that you're kind. You all call out some other words that people, or some other traits or skills that people need when they're supporting those who are grieving, especially during the denial and anger stage.
They need a listening ear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I mean, I can keep going back to that one, and I think too, for me, it's just, you have to really find those people, and, because some people can make it about them, you share your stuff, and they trying to share, so,
Yeah.
so it's like,
Yes.
like, I'm the one going through, can I talk?
This is not your story.
Can I talk about it?
Oh,
But
gosh.
so yeah, I think that's one of the major. Be a listening ear, because sometimes you just need somebody to listen. You don't need no feedback. I just need you to be there and just listen. And sometimes even had people listen to me cry. I mean, because I maybe I didn't have the words, and so I just cried. I just, like, for those few moments, I just on the phone and just cried. I don't, just, so be there. Just be there. Be a listening ear.
Be there, be judgment free. I think that's really important. Um, just allow you to, like Constance said, allow you to cry, allow you to share, allow you to speak how you're feeling, um, and just, if you need a hug, it's okay to give a hug.
Hmm.
To be that shoulder for you to lean on, and know, I mean, for us to know that it's okay to feel all of what we're feeling and to show all of how we're feeling. Um, I think that's really helpful. And just knowing that you have a safe space to be able to cry and just feel.
Yeah.
I love what Constance said when she said sometimes we just need somebody to be there, not trying to give us any feedback, not trying to be a fixer, not giving false hope, just there, just present.
Yeah. Yeah, because it could be it can be a lonely place. And so, even in the midst of a room full of people, you can feel really alone still.
Mhm.
Um, and so, but just having, like, I think Cassandra said, safe people.
Mm-hmm,
Yes,
mm-hmm,
be a safe person,
Mhm.
mm-hmm.
you know. So this has been good.
I like that. Arosha, any thoughts?
This has been good. This has
Yeah.
actually been therapy for me for today because, like I shared earlier, I was angry all day because I had to relive something that I was trying to hide. So I really enjoyed this.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we want to remind you guys anger can point fingers at everyone else until it has no one else to point to, and then it turns inward. And that leads into depression. So, on our next episode, we're going to talk about the next three stages, which is depression, bargaining, and bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So,
Mhm.
we cannot wait for you all to join us. But remember, we can navigate grief together. When I tell you this is a true sisterhood, we are not just on here just to do it, just to do it. We love each other and we are growing together. I love how Arosha said it's been therapeutic for her as well.
Mm.
So as we close out, we did not plan this, so it's on you, Cass. Tell the audience about our background. Cass told us that she loves to quilt. So our logo, Cass, it's on you. Talk about it.
Our logo is called Navigating Grief with the Sisterhood. And this was a quilt that I made after I met these wonderful women. And when I made it, there were 5 women in it. And we were trying to come up with a logo for the group. And I think it might have been Sakia or Constance, one of you, said, well, what about that quilt you made, Cass? Because I remember showing it to them and I said, notice there's 5 women in it, not knowing that this even was all going to even transpire. And so that's how God works. And that's how it is. It's 5 women holding each other up, supporting each other, lending a listening ear, and just loving on each other and being there for each other. So that's what this quilt is about.
So
We love
hard
it.
times can definitely bring us together. And this
Yeah.
is an example of it. So for all of our listeners, we love to hear from you. Have fun. Tell us who you see in the background. I'm going to go ahead and give you the hint. I got the Afro puffs, at least today. But until then, we want you to know we thank you for listening. We hope that we have been supportive and helpful. And remember, grief is heavy, but what, y'all?
Hope
Hope prevails.
prevails.
All right. See you next
See you
time.
next
See you
time.
next time.